Okay, we're live. Good morning, everybody out in YouTube land or otherwise. I don't know where else you would be, but I think you're in YouTube land right now, right? All right, we're going to have a chance to go live. Kick back here a little bit. Let's see what's going on. It looks like Israel is starting war in Syria. So that's always fun. Everybody had a great week. Get your coffee a little early on this Saturday and hang out with us. See what's going on. Well, if I can get this word out. All right. What's everybody out there doing? Hopefully hold on to nothing, but there's always stuff to get done on a Saturday, right? So yeah, saw some stories. There was those rockets got launched from Syria yesterday, apparently, and then there's a story that Israel has conducted operations into Syria. Seems to be like what everybody else is doing. Heavy Syria airstrikes. I had a jet shot down last night, I guess. That's new. So that can't be fun. Imagine how, if we weren't there destabilizing the country, I wonder if things might be a little better. Things that make you wonder. But alas, it doesn't quite work like that. You're working, Barry? Or you're just saying I'm working, you can hear me. Sometimes it's hard to tell which one you're talking about. Barry, and starting your weekend, which I guess technically started last night, but we won't get into that. So yes, it looks like Syria has kicked off some sort of attack based upon some rockets yesterday. Oh, you mean like real work, like employer work, not just housework? When I come home on the weekends, I say I have to go to my real job. This story was last updated 3 hours ago here on CNBC. There's one on Zero Hedge. They're calling it a large-scale attack, quoting the IDF spokesman that it was large-scale. Open war between, is what they're calling it, with Israel and Syria. Says a dozen strikes on Syrian and Iranian military targets. Says Syrian air defense has shot down an Israeli F-16 jet near the Golan border region. What is a major escalation? Yeah, I would consider that an escalation. Um, when you're doing subtle proxy war, going to straight to blow is a little different. So this kind of just popped up out of nowhere, huh? I mean, we thought we might be getting out of Syria. Well, Turkey invaded Syria after we took our shots, and now Israel's taking its shots. So what's the big deal about Syria? Why is everybody? And it's interesting because Russia's still there, flying aircraft and everything else for the Syrians, helping them out. Huh. Very interesting. Who's we got out in the chat room? Barry joined us a little bit ago. Anybody else checking in? Oh, not at this moment. So I guess Damascus is getting pummeled by Israeli aircraft. And IDF is saying, the Israeli Defense Force is saying that Iran is responsible for this severe violation of Israeli sovereignty. I'm not sure the connection other than supposition and assumption. I don't know if they can prove that. So I guess that's where the Israeli jet landed. It was crashed inside Israel, it looks like, on return flight. So this is all on Saturday there. So it's night there probably by, well, maybe not quite nighttime there. Or maybe it is night, but it's getting really close to it. So things will probably get a lot more information during the next couple hours on this. As our American journalists pick up on it and go through all the info. Northern countryside to a hospital. There were two pilots. So it was F-16. Crash was captured by onlookers. Looks like it crashed early in the morning their time. So that's always interesting when the war breaks out or heats up. I guess it's been ongoing for a long time, but it's now heating up, you would say, because everybody assumes we're going to get involved. Iranian UAV control facility. So they're saying there's a Iranian UAV facility in Syria. So they're saying there's an Iranian UAV flying out of Syria into Israel. All kinds of people with their hands in the cookie jar. Hezbollah attacks. Just pointing the finger at everybody. So if you want to catch up, I'm sure you can find quite a bit more on that. It's probably going to die down at night a little bit until the next strike. They'll probably strike again tonight if they're going to do more launch any more attacks. None of this has made it over to Drudge, it doesn't look like. He's usually a little slow on the draw on the weekend. So I just popped in and haven't even checked anything, and this is the first thing I see. So give me a chance to check all the other stuff going on. What's going on out there in the chat room? So we got some stuff on our October 1 shooting in the Vegas paper. We'll hit that a little later. What's going with you all out there in the weather? Look, everybody on the East Coast still getting pummeled. You guys digging out, staying dry? What's up? Who we got out there? Everybody staying silent. Silence is consent. Silence is golden. The whole Southeast is just going to be getting wet, it looks like, all weekend, with snow stretching all the way across from Denver to Maine. And we're out here sitting at 70 degrees. I don't know. It was like 78 in Vegas yesterday. It had to be 72 here, maybe 70. It was a little cloudy for some reason. So it kept it a little cooler, I guess. Unreal. Unreal weather for this time of year. Just, it's not bode well if we do not start getting some storms out this way. Gonna have to put in some sort of water plan. We're gonna start getting some rain out here. 30 up where you're at, Barry? Yeah, it's about 40 here, but it's gonna warm up pretty quick. I guess they're calling this the second round of the storm because it's been going pretty much all week out there, off and on, just cycling snow and moisture through the different areas. It'll be fun and exciting. Yeah, it looks crystal clear up in the Pacific Northwest for the first time in a while, Barry. Of course, over the mountains, it's always probably hit and miss. If you're on the either side of the Cascades there, it's probably just depends on what the mountains decide to make that day. I've seen more multi-vehicle accidents this year, it seems like. There was one earlier in the week in Iowa, and this is one in Michigan, pileup, that they've got on here. That one in Iowa would look pretty brutal. So M. Long's probably getting drenched in some rain right now. 6-vehicle pileup, US 23 near Fenton, Michigan. Thought they were going to have the video up. Brr. I-94. People just don't slow down when weather gets bad. Yada, yada, yada. Wait for the ad. They're just going to have the forecast. They're going to show the video of that. But y'all see that video of the Iowa pileup this week was pretty like multiple to 18 wheelers. Seems like it happens more and more often. Just bizarre. People just continue to cruise at 60 when there's like no visibility and snow covered roads, like covered with inches of snow. Five to 8 inches from Denver all the way to Detroit, looks like. Right, Barry? It's like nobody can get a signal out to like warn everybody. Like somebody put out a flare, put out a flashlight, everybody get their blinkers on. Like, what are you doing? There's no emergency signaling. You kind of think that I still thought trucker and trailer drivers, I thought you still use um, CBs, right? Still communicate. Like it doesn't seem like that's even going on because even the tractor and trailers keep plowing into them. 69 photos in that photo gallery. Let's see what the next video is. Yeah, more focused. I don't care. All right. Didn't get to see any cool video of car wreck. They use it as a teaser clip. This is probably just going to have a drive by. This is on I-94. This isn't even the one they were talking about at the top of the story. Hey, Kevin, what's going on? Good morning. We were just commenting on people's driving habits and bad weather, how there seem to be more and more multiple car pileups in these bad weather areas that people just don't learn to, they just refuse to slow down, refuse to take it a little bit easier and end up with just 80 cars or whatever getting, you know, plowing into each other for no reason. Nobody can get anybody slowed down. Just low visibility and everything. They just keep driving as fast as they possibly can. There was that one earlier this week in Iowa, but some more going on now. Couldn't get any video of it. How's things where you are, Kevin? Are you stuck in this winter, icy, rainy, snowy mess out east? I can't remember if I even know where you're from. At least which part of the country. At least break it down to a quadrant, you know, northwest, west, southeast, Texas. We just covered a little bit there, Kevin. Israel's bombing Syria overnight. Israeli plane was shot down. It's the first thing we covered off the top of the at the top of the hour, I guess you'd say. But if everybody saw the stock market this week, it was very crazy. That was a big topic of the week. Um, and now they're saying that the big spending budget is going to rattle markets. We'll see what comes out of that to prepare you for the Saturday financial stories that'll berate everybody into the situation, either trying to convince you to raise taxes or anything. Who knows what they'll try to do with that story if the stock market continues to go down, like it's anything more than their fault. Yeah, Kevin, I don't think it's so much they can't drive in snow. It's they can drive. They just go really fast just because they think they can. And then when you don't have any visibility, though, all it takes is one person on these interstate wrecks. It's like one person gets sideways and then everybody else just plows forward. Everybody's, I'm on an interstate. I'm not slowing down for nobody. It's bizarre. So the strangest thing out of the week of the market, maybe I don't know, the most significant, I think. The stock market coming back and everything was one thing, but the oil price, we were above 65 last week, and it dropped down to below 60. That's a pretty significant move. And what's it based on? I never got a real good handle on what it's based on, maybe other than the supply is increasing, because we did have that story earlier in the week how the U.S. is now exporting a lot more oil. So that should be good, should be relatively good for the gas pump. But like we were talking back a while with the Texas producers and everywhere else as well, U.S. oil has to remain at a certain level, probably above 50 at a minimum, to maintain production, to keep costs down and everything, and make it, I should say, to validate the cost to put into production and exploration and all that other stuff. They got to keep the price somewhat at a good profit level. $2.85 yesterday, Barry. Is that your gas price? I'm assuming. I don't know what else would be $2.85. It's $2.50 around here, mostly $2.55, $2.45, that range. I wouldn't want to be in California. They imposed that new gas tax. It's probably $3 there. But the Olympics kicked off. I think the biathlon, women's biathlon, one of them is today. I was kind of interested in that. The Netherlands is winning the medal count. So it should be a lot of fun this weekend for your viewing pleasure if you want to watch some Olympics. Looks like this is the first gold medal in a cross-country race, maybe of some sort. Probably the Netherlands. All kinds of good winter fun. If we can get this to pull up. So how everybody else doing out there about halfway through the Saturday morning chat? Just running down the situation. The big news out of the night was Israel bombing Syria and having a jet shot down. So we'll see where that goes, as everybody has their fingers in the cookie jar in Syria, it seems like. The weather, stormy weather for the east and the Midwest continues. Make sure you're checking out some more cards you got out there for you in the top right corner. I know a lot of you heard this multiple times, but I do change the channels regularly, so it's a rotating stock that I put up there to kind of share the love and get the word out to everybody at different channels that are out there that they might enjoy or whatnot. Just kind of do my part, I guess, with the YouTube community of mostly small channels that don't get much. It's hard to get cross pollination and sharing across. If you're just focused in on one community on YouTube, like guns or prepping or something, you might not see other channels that are still pretty good and interesting. And that's just refusing to come up. It looks like it's like I'm not gonna. So See what else is going on then. Not much up in our area. There was the story with the final tier of Bundy case in a trial that was going on. Was supposed to start here later in the month. It's kind of a weird situation because the feds filed for a dismissal of those charges, a dismissal of those trials, but they wanted the judge to reconsider the dismissal of her previous ruling. That was kind of odd. Like you're asking to dismiss this, but you want to refile, you want to revisit the other trial and have that was dismissed. It was weird. I never got a good picture on why that was going on. It seems to be some strategic attorney level stuff that I had a hard time grasping. Videos on that from Jay Grady and Disgruntled GI and others are out there with the guy from Who's Next commenting on a lot of that. Um, but it's good that the last tier gets their dismissal as they deserve. But how they can revisit and the judge could change a dismissal, I've never heard nothing like that. And with when the dismissal is done with prejudice, they were talking about going to the Ninth Circuit and appealing. And when it's dismissed with prejudice, I didn't think you could do that. Don't know how you try to get a trial on charges that have been dismissed with prejudice. That doesn't make sense to me in the big picture. But there's probably some case law somewhere that if it meets these criteria, the due diligence wasn't done here or there, that you can try it at the next level or whatever, an appeal is granted or something crazy. So that would be bad if they pull some stunt like that. But it might be just a matter too of formality, and the U.S. attorney is just trying to save face basically with doing that. And also in Vegas, so there's an order that the judge is ordering the Review Journal to destroy the autopsy report they got a hold of. They state the autopsy gives no clues that the copy they obtained a copy of that autopsy. Um, so that's an interesting follow. The story still doesn't make no sense. Nobody knows what happened or why, and nobody seems to care either. Everybody just, oh, crazy man. Crazy men are anything enough to do what he did, but yet it happened. This is kind of a weird organization of the Review Journal website here. Had that next tier of the Bunkerville trial people in here somewhere, but figure out where it's going. But that is going on out there. More information of nothing as far as that October 1 shooting goes. And if you're following the Bundy trial, make sure you look into that. As they are surely still going to seek out their pound of flesh from DC. I saw this earlier in a couple, but the dog flu apparently is a big deal. It was human flu's not bad enough. The dog flu's bad. Don't take your dog to the dog park. You might get the flu. Gotta isolate your dog now so they don't get sick, I guess. I don't know. Who knew that was a thing? I mean, I guess dogs get sick. They just shake it off a lot better than we. They don't complain and miss work like we do when they get sick. Yeah, not really much in the local, just the water situation and everything is still being watched because of our lack of winter weather. Fortunately, we got so much last year that everything is full. Yeah, Kevin, they make up the rules as they go along. Yeah, well, that's what the feds do. They do that very well. You're correct in that. Anybody got anything going on in their area you can throw out there for discussion or anything? The Israel bombing Syria thing is something we're going to have to keep a track of. See how they try to blow that up. This is something we haven't really tracked. There's just been a continued devolution. Uh, the situation in Venezuela is in the making, and we've continually made fun of it. Venezuela makes for a good meme for a study on socialism and communism, but it's some downright, probably some scary scenes going on down there that just don't get out because there's no way to get the news out. Internet's restricted, power's restricted. Driving through Venezuela with 20 tons of vegetables, very dangerous. In a fifth full year of a painful economic implosion. Yeah, when we talk about the slow burn to expect, I know I've talked about it on several videos about Seller 559. We've kind of bounced it back and forth that, we talk about economic collapse. This is what it'll be like. Be 5 years down the road and things will just continue to get worse and worse. Slow burn of a collapse. Or does it just all happen overnight? Things have to break down. Hey, Mindy Patriot Angel joined us. Hey, how you doing? Vaccine for the dogs, right? Oh, are they to go with that dog flu? Yeah. Is it killing dogs? Is it really like just one of those things? They're just trying to push a vaccine just because they say they can, even though it's not like catastrophic. Like I get having a anthrax vaccine, even though it's the worst thing I've ever had. Like anthrax kills you, along with several other diseases, smallpox, for example. But the chicken pox, like we all got chicken pox, minimal. It's a zero defect mentality. Like nobody can get sick or have any diseases ever. It seems to be the mentality behind the whole vaccine crowd. But there's probably other agendas, but just a different look at it. It's like the way they push it is, well, if you get sick, then we're not doing our utmost. So in Venezuela, surge in attacks so I guess this guy was hauling food and onions and crops and stuff and getting ambushed on the road trying to get food to the capital city and such. Hundreds of looters swarmed a convoy. Apparently, they carted off milk, rice, and sugar from other trucks with the gentleman they were interviewing. They left his less prized vegetables alone. I wonder if the vegetables are less prized because it's easier to grow them at home, so people have their own little vegetable gardens while they get the milk and rice and sugar, the things that are a little bit harder for them to grow. Interesting. You'd think if people are hungry, they'd take whatever they could get, unless they're just stealing to put it on the black market and sell it elsewhere. In January alone, there are 162 lootings and 42 robberies of trucks. So 30 million So Venezuela, that's just a little bit smaller than California population-wise. Boy, that's a lot smaller than California. California's what, 54 million? Something like that. It's funny. I don't think they mentioned socialism or communism in here once. Dystopian attacks in a country the world's fifth to the world's highest murder rates, pushing up transportation and food costs in a hyperinflationary environment, as well as stifling movement of goods in this crisis-hit OPEC nation. Is it OPEC's fault? Is it oil's fault? What's OPEC got to do with this? If they could produce their oil, they'd probably be doing a little better off. Barred by law from carrying guns, the Andean truck drivers form convoys to protect themselves. Text each other about trouble. They have texting. They got some sort of technology, I guess. So they mentioned the government, gunmen on bikes, variety of techniques, stalking prey. Attackers wait for a vehicle to slow down a pothole before jumping on. It's like Mad Max, but in Venezuela instead of the outback. So truck drivers are having a hard time in Venezuela. Is it Mad Max or Robin Hood? Because it's a fifth year of an economic decline. Let's don't talk about how that happened. Yeah, I'm all the way down here, and there's no talk about how the economy got so bad in this OPEC nation. They mentioned that. So we went all the way through that story about those poor truck drivers in Venezuela. That are being attacked because people are starving. And all they have enough to mention is that the economy is in a 5-year painful economic implosion under President Maduro because it's the president's fault. It's not the policies of communism. Couldn't possibly be. Right? Is that what way I'm reading this? Pretty much. Ignore the conditions that cause the problem. We were supposed to empathize with them, I guess. Interesting. Don't go to Venezuela, I would recommend. Unless you're heavily armed. That would always be good advice. That's why I don't go to California. They won't let me be heavily armed. All right, folks, got about 15 minutes left. Who we got in the side chat? Mindy's still with us. There's only 39 million in California. I thought California was much bigger than that. I guess there's like what 54 representatives. It's not. It's like one per 800,000 or something. 1/750,000. So I guess yeah, that makes sense. Rooster Cogburn joined us. How you doing? Well, Barry, the socialism caused the economic problem. The chaos afterwards is the vacuum that's created when the government can only focus on the big cities. They can't be everywhere because things are so devolved in such a state. It looks like from all the stories, what stories you can find, they are few and far between because nobody wants to go there because it's so dangerous. Yeah, I would say, Mindy, you could pretty much safely say Venezuela is on financial ruin, even with all the oil reserves and everything that they have. They've pretty much devolved to that point. So we use that as a case study. 5 years for Venezuela, even though it's surrounded by countries it can interact with and exchange and trade with, but it chooses not to do so. It chooses to suffer alone, I guess. So also this week had the story continuing on about the FBI agents and the text messages and that whole debacle of getting the Russians to influence the election and everything else, but using a fake information basically to get a warrant to a secret court. Um, but they're also, and I don't have a link for this, we talked about it yesterday. There were the texts from the lead Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, Mark Warner, had text with a lobbyist from a Russian oligarch about the whole thing. And they also had the FBI undercover agent speaking to Congress, who was part of the whole Uranium One undercover deal. So that information came out. Greg Hunter did his video yesterday. If everybody didn't get a chance to see that yet, go check that out. Um, it's so what was coming out of that congressional hearing, um, basically about the selling selling out resources to Russia and everything. Let me see if I can pull that up so you can get you a link out there in the side chat at least if you haven't seen that yet. I know Kevin's probably got it. He's the one that shared it yesterday with us as it came about overnight from Thursday afternoon, basically, and then onward from there. Oh, here's the video. Let me get you. So part of the one thing that's going to be needed moving forward is this story right here. Hey, good morning, Walter Davis. Thanks for joining us. You've missed a lot. You have to rewind. Go back, start from the beginning. So there's a link in the side chat for this. So if you can read, and this is also on Zero Hedge. Um, so you can see that the FBI informant testified that millions of Clinton Foundation cash in the Russian situation. Let me see if it's still up on Zero Hedge. Oh, if I can get it to not freeze. Am I frozen? Let's go. But the story was also on Zero Hedge. And we also read a link off of Fox yesterday, too, because it is a congressional hearing. At least somebody's reporting it, right? But it's on there if we dig far enough. um, they put out a lot of articles, so it's Hard to keep up with them all. No. So it's back a couple pages. It looked like this is still yesterday's stuff, February 9th. Who knows how this, so this stuff on Zero Hedge will be on February 8th if you're going to look for it there. But he spends the whole 26 minutes talking about this issue. So Kevin comments in the side chat, I'm glad Greg got on the regular FBI and CIA employees for not doing something about it. Well, why would they? They're the supreme agency. There's nothing they can do no wrong. That's caused our current debacles. That's why the FBI is shooting cowboys in the middle of the desert. So the undercover agent was laundering money to help the FBI track all that. So that's how much evidence they have. 5,000 documents. Over a 6-year period, this guy was undercover, I guess. So Greg hammers his home pretty well. You got to watch it yourself. Doesn't do justice. Just try to play it through all here. Does he link anybody else? So he hasn't put the links in his video. All right, but there's that. That will definitely be interesting to see if we can continue to follow that, if it continues to be able to stay on the radar or it just gets buried. With the Uranium One deal has been a long-standing issue, obviously, and how it happened is even more disturbing as the more gets talked about. But Kevin, Greg, we give the regular FBI and CIA employees, nobody's been trained to step out of line and say something, or to even try to correct it from within. Is anybody internally having discussions like, hey, is this really the right thing to do? That it doesn't seem to exist. It doesn't seem like there's any corrective mechanism within these agencies to even discuss changing course on so many different issues. It's obviously not just things like this, but everything they do seems to be, when it gets out of line, nobody's willing to, there's no mechanism to sit down and think and plan like, is this really the best idea to take 1,000 federal agents, surround a ranch, round up a bunch of cattle, and think that's the right thing to do? I mean, nobody puts themselves in check on those things. Like, why would we not do that? Well, that's just normal protocol. It seems like they don't have a thought of like, well, that's not unusual. Seriously. Makes you wonder really what's going on. Because if everybody sit there and just shook their head and agreed, like, oh yeah, let's do this plan. 10 different agencies, all different federal pieces of the federal government get together, plan this. They're like, oh yeah, okay, let's do it. Basically running a military operation. And everybody's like, okay, all right, sign off on the plan. Let's go. We'll get her done. Bizarre. And there's probably other things they're planning right now that are just as obscene that we have no idea. And nobody's willing to step out of line and say anything, Kevin, like you're saying about it. And the senior people have been doing it for so long. You got to figure the senior people in these organizations, they were there for Waco. They were there for Ruby Ridge. They've seen all the bad things that went down. That's just progression and protocol for them. Doesn't They don't check their thought process because of that. They just build on top of it. So we got our last 5 minutes. In case you missed us at the very beginning, if you haven't rewound yet, make sure you're checking out the story: Israel bombing Syria after some Syrian not Syrian missiles. They're claiming they were Iranian rockets came from Syria, which is a roundabout situation, but that's all going on. Make sure you check into that. That was going on overnight with a jet getting shot down and everything. So stay alert on that issue. And if you're out east, you already know it's probably snowing, raining, or sleet, ice where you are, because there's lots of weather. We don't need that. Lots of weather out there for everybody to enjoy, except for out west here. We're getting dry slotted for the whole winter, it looks like. Kevin comments, but what about the fact they're human? Do they think it's wrong? It's an interesting discussion, Kevin. We've continued down the course in our country for the last 30 years that everything is relative. There is no right and wrong. It's only subjective as to what benefits you. That's the relativist, thought that goes out in schools and in colleges. It's progressed to the point to where everybody adapts it to their own. It's perfect communist style ideology. The ends justify the means. Mindy Patriot Angel comments, those alphabet agencies need to be emptied with new. No. The agencies need to be emptied, Mindy. Yes. No new blood. Shut them down. Every three-letter agency should not exist. There should not be these three-letter agencies. They don't need new blood. They need to be shut down and burned to the ground. Walter Davis, the more I think about it, the more I think the Genius Uranium one was in Bill's first term. That's possible. I mean, those things do take time to develop and figure out how you're going to get your foot in the door, right? And they have a good long-term plan probably, and that stuff like that. Oh, Mindy, you're in Texas. I didn't even know you were in Texas, Mindy. So to get ice, huh? Yeah. It looks like it's dipping down. You can see there on the screen of the Weather Channel. It's calling for ice down there, so don't drive crazy like everybody else. We were talking earlier about all these interstate wrecks of multiple car pileups seem to get more and more prevalent. Like, people, chill. If you can't see, don't fly down the interstate. But you see all these snowy, foggy, icy roads, people just car after car, bam, bam, bam. It's like one a week now or more. Yeah, Rooster, same here. You got spring. You're saying you got spring there in California. If it's like 70 here, and it's February, right? We should be down in the 40s, maximum temperatures, and getting some snow and rain, and we haven't gotten nothing this winter. This winter has been non-existent. Walter Davis, without NAFTA, uranium one could not happen. Well, uranium one is all under the table, and it's Russia. It's not. NAFTA's China. I mean China. NAFTA's Canada and Mexico. I don't know how NAFTA affects uranium one, unless it has to do with exports through some other route. NAFTA didn't open up the selling of U.S. resources to. At that time, when NAFTA was signed, Russia was still on the outs. There was no. The Russians didn't really become, I guess you would call, trade partners until the Bush era, until the Junior Bush came in. Yeah, Mindy, not driving in that weather down there is probably a good call. People in the South in general don't do so well. That's where everything shuts down. but just using a little common sense goes a long way. People can't drive on a good day down there. Is that right, Mindy? Well, I can't speak for that. I guess you must be either near Dallas or Houston or something, because usually there's no, you don't have to worry about that out in the rural areas on even a good day, because people just chill out and cruise down the road. They don't go crazy. I see what you're saying, Walter, that the uranium deal, uranium one, the exports could have went through Canada unchecked. Let's see. So that's what y'all got to look forward to out there, it looks like, with more coming through tomorrow. Us here and me and Rooster out here will just stay high and dry for the foreseeable future. Okay, you're close to Dallas. Right on. Yeah, it's shocking how Mindy says people are constantly texting. It's worse than having a road full of drunk drivers. It is. Yeah, I seem to pull up more next to more people now that are talking on their phone, like deliberately, like it's on their ear and they're just looking around, talking on their phone. I seen that more and more now than I did 5 years ago, when it was kind of like, and now that there's been this big push to not talk and drive or text and drive, people seem to do it more. You know, did you get run into by somebody, Walter? Walter says his truck is cracked up by somebody texting, I guess. Are you talking 18 wheeler, Walter, or are you just talking about your regular like pickup? I don't know if you drive for a living. All right, everybody, we're at about the hour mark. We're going to wrap it up. We covered a lot of territory. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for watching. If you missed some of the beginning stuff on Syria and, I don't know, oil prices, and the Olympics are going, rewind and check it out. Make sure you're checking out the cards in the top right corner there. Some different channels for you to check out. And it's always good to check out some new stuff that you may not be aware of. Walter, somebody was texting and jamming the brakes caused a big wreck, and you hit a barrier. Well, that's no good. I guess this was the first gold medal in the Olympics. It doesn't say what event it is. We saw that the Netherlands was leading in the medal count, so there you go. Go figure. The Vikings are best at winter sports. But go out, have a good weekend. Enjoy. If you have to stay out of the weather, you got to do what you got to do. We'll try to get some chores done, because it'll probably get bad weather here for an extended period when we're supposed to be doing them in the spring. So we got to do it while we can. Alpine cross country. It's a 7.5 kilometer race. So that was the first gold medal, was the women's 7.5 kilometer cross country. And it's the classic. You want to work out? Go do some of that for the weekend. Forget about running. Go to do some cross country skiing. It's interesting. South Korea looks a little more scenic than I thought it would. For some reason, we all have our impressions of what different countries look like. Like some of this, the countryside here in South Korea doesn't look half bad. And there's that. All right, we'll cut it out, folks. Have a good weekend. Live free.